welcome to the channel. I'm Richard Cole, the Amari in Amari Communications. This is the latest Amari Music Talk, and today I'm going to talk about how to make the perfect Purple Rain box set. Now, I know this is an episode that's been in the works for a long time, so I finally have the time to put it together, and I hope everyone enjoys it. So if you're a long-time listener, welcome back. If you are new to the channel, welcome aboard. And if you enjoy the content on this channel, please hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, become a Patreon supporter. Get early access to this episode, exclusive access to the full video of each episode of Purple Notes Unveiled podcast, and also content that is exclusive to the channel. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the perfect Purple Rain box set. So, we know that 2024 is going to be the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain, and I think the estate would be remiss if they did not acknowledge that in some way, shape, or form. A lot of us think that we're getting a box set, which I've also done a video on, so be sure to check that out as well. I will place it here on the screen so you can check that out after this one. You know, of course, Purple Rain has got this, it's a weird, divisive thing now, because it's the catalyst for his mainstream success. And not only the success, the respect, the clout, definitely the money, definitely the money, has allowed him to open doors that pave the way to whatever it is that you enjoy about Prince post Purple Rain. In other words, had Purple Rain flopped, then your favorite era or your favorite album may not exist in the way that you enjoy it today. So, you know, we got to give that acknowledgement. I mean, even he recognized that, you know, on the one hand, yeah, he did, like, it was too big, it became a monster. You know, he didn't want to be a prisoner of it the way Thriller kind of made a prisoner of Michael Jackson. He didn't want the pressure of trying to top Purple Rain, so, you know, he did something like Around the World in a Day. But like I said, if that flopped, and I'm actually going to do a Patreon exclusive video titled What If Purple Rain Flopped, so be on the lookout for that. Again, become a Patreon supporter to check that out. But, you know, for me, you know, like from Dirty Mind through 1999, that's kind of the personal era for me. Parade is one that I enjoy more than Around the World in a Day. Sign of the Times is probably my favorite Prince album of the 80s, but as far as era, the kind of the 1999 era is my favorite from the 80s. So with Purple Rain, it was like this thing to where I like the sort of underground cult status, you know, kind of the R&B charts. You know, it was cool. He had a crossover hit with Little Red Corvette, and that was cool. But yeah, Purple Rain kind of became this journey into the unknown. And while I enjoy a lot of that album, I can't. It's weird to say. I can't say it's a favorite. You know, it's kind of like I enjoy listening to Sgt. Pepper. I think it's a great album, but Revolver is my favorite Beatles album. And then from there, then like I think I listened to Magical Mystery Tour maybe more than Sgt. Pepper. But like I said, it doesn't take away from the greatness, the importance, or the myth of that. That's just, you know, that's just my personal taste. So the same with Purple Rain. It's like, yeah, I get the myth. I mean, I saw the movie like 36 times before it even made it to video cassette. So, you know, I enjoy it. There's people that I count as friends, and even maybe even as family, that had it not been for the huge success of Purple Rain, to connect with people, to have that common denominator of Prince to bond over. So there is that. But I do enjoy it. I love Computer Blue. I love The Beautiful Ones. When Doves Cry. I think nothing takes away from the first time I heard that on the radio in May of 1984. Like, to me, because you didn't know what the rest of the album sounded like at that point. It was just, that was the first single. So nobody knew, except the people that made Purple Rain, knew what it sounded like. But to me, I thought that was the greatest thing he had done up to that point. Like I said, it was a natural, 5-7 steps forward from anything on 1999. He knocked that out of the park. But like I said, the album as an album, like I said, it's because it's no longer that cult status of 1999. It's no longer that underground cool thing anymore. It now belongs to the world. So, there's a bit of that. But like I said, it's inevitable. And like I said, without that success, we don't get to enjoy any of the albums after that we know and love, had that success and not taken place. So, we did get a expanded deluxe edition back in 2017. And again, the detractors, well, they put one out already. We don't need another one. Well, when you compare it to the 1999 box set, when you compare it to the Sign of the Times box set, when you compare it to the upcoming Diamonds and Pearls box set, then it doesn't compare. The song choices were terrible. Half of the songs had nothing to do with Purple Rain, the album, or the movie, meaning that, okay, yeah, he worked on that during that period, but it was obvious these songs were not intended. There's about 2 of the songs, maybe 3, that were done well after the movie had been shot, well after the album was in the can. It was just a matter of doing mixes for the singles at that point and mixes for the extended versions at that point, and picking out choice B-sides for those singles and extended versions. So anything that was worked on afterwards, no, it wasn't intended for Purple Rain. That stuff belongs on an Around the World in a Day box set. So yeah, it needs a proper it needs a proper comprehensive set with 2 or 3 discs, just like the other vault tracks on previous box sets. So it's in need of that. The master of the original album is divisive. This is Prince since 2014 getting his masters back, and part of the terms of that negotiation was that Warner Brothers was to put out a box set. Now we don't know what really happened behind the scenes. Prince was like, oh, well, when people would ask Prince on Twitter, what's up with the Purple Rain box set? Is it coming? And his answer was like, I don't know. Ask Warner Brothers, So I don't know if there was disagreements about what to include on it. I'm going to fathom a guess and say things like Erotic City, just because of Prince's spiritual beliefs during the latter part of his lifetime. It would have gone against his belief system to put Erotic City out. Even though that's part of his legacy, one of probably his best B-sides, and a well-beloved track amongst the fan base. I think some of those things kind of kept it from coming sooner in his lifetime. But with that being said, it did come out in 2017, a year after Prince's passing. And to me, that was one of those things. It was a quick cash grab. There was no real thought put into it. I mean, it was cool they put that Prince and the Revolution live, the DVD, but that has since come out as a better standalone remastered. Um, both the DVD, now it's a Blu-ray, and the sound is much better with its remaster from, what was it, last year before last, year before last when it was released. So with Prince wanting to control the narrative and do something groundbreaking, I guess he felt, well, why can't I remaster these myself? Instead of getting whoever the top person, Bernie Grubman or whoever, like, I know, like with a lot of the Miles Davis stuff, the original engineer supervised those remasters. You have like Giles Martin, son of George Martin, that's in charge of either remastering or remixing a lot of the Beatles stuff that you've seen come out over the years in their respective box sets or reissues or re-releases of different Beatle product. So he tapped, Joshua Welton, who, I love Joshua's work on Artificial Age, his production stuff. I love the stuff that he did on Hit and Run Phase 1. I enjoy that stuff a lot. And to tackle mastering, it's not an easy science. It is not easy. The stuff that I do, even though the majority of it's me digitizing, 20, 30 years of recorded material that was done on 4-track cassette, maybe an overdub here or there, but to transfer that digitally and then to put it out, to master it, I do what I can. I don't think it's the best. I don't think it's great. I think it works for what I'm doing. But, to go into a studio and to make a proper record or a proper album, then for me to master it would be a joke. It's not an easy science. Don't fall for those people. We can master your stuff in 20 minutes. That's just them hitting a bunch of sets, set parameters and running everything through. And that's not going to work on every song. I found that out. I've had certain parameters for certain songs and they sound great. It's like it works. And then I would use those same parameters for another track and it just sounds terrible. So it's like, okay, well, maybe that doesn't need compression, so let's not compress it. Maybe it doesn't need, the echo just ruins the sound. Or it's like, it sounds great on the voices, but the drums suck. So let's get that echo out of there. So it's not an easy science, and not every song is going to be done the exact same way. So you need a professional like a Bernie Grubman to do it. I've done an episode back with the old Amari Purple Talk discussing, is the Paisley Park remaster that bad? Is Joshua Welton's work that bad? In that video, I talked about how if you listen to it on a CD, yeah, you can kind of see the weaknesses, you can hear the weaknesses in it. But when you kind of transfer it, or you burn it onto a CD, or if you burn it onto or transfer the files to your USB and you play it in the car, to me the difference was night and day. A lot of the tracks like Computer Blue, of course maybe The Beautiful One still suffered with the Paisley Park remaster, even playing it in the car, but definitely Computer Blue was the standout. Darling Nikki was a standout with that. But yeah, not a lot of the fan base was happy with that remaster. I know they've since released a standalone of Purple Rain, both on vinyl and I think CD, that has Bernie Grumman's mastering. But I think for the purposes of a 40th anniversary, you definitely need to remaster the album properly. And again, nothing against Josh, because that's his first time out the box. So I cut him a lot of slack. Like, it's not an easy science, and you did that on your first attempt at mastering. Then you're on your way to being great at it down the line. So I guess the best place to start with how to make the perfect Purple Rain box set is to start with the remaster of the original album. Again, get Bernie Grubman or get whoever, the best engineer working. I know that I think they do have a in-house engineer now, the Prince Estate. I can't remember his name, but if you check out the Classic Pop article discussing the Diamonds and Pearls box set, there is an interview with Charles Spicer that's in there. But you know, the journalist acknowledges like his role with the Prince Estate. I guess he's the current archivist now, but they do have a dedicated engineer for those things. But I don't know if they're handling the remastering, if they're just handling the mixes or remixes to get it ready for mastering, and it all goes to Bernie Grumman. I guess time will tell with that. But definitely, yes, a remaster of the original album is needed. Bring back my feelings. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite, but I think my best memory is actually buying that album and playing it for the first time. That memory stands out more than subsequent plays of that album. Like that first month, that whole July into August into maybe like early September of 1984, musically was just, for me, it was just captivating. Just on a musical level, and just kind of the surroundings, in my room, this was that time we didn't have central air, so that summer, you had fans going and the windows up and stuff like that. And back then, this whole, whatever you want to call it, pollution, global warming, where you outside just smelled better in those days, even then, but just that period of listening to that, bring back that memory for me with the remaster of that. The Paisley Park remaster, I don't get that feeling from it. Like I said, playing it in the car, there's some things that I enjoy. I enjoy how it sounds, but like I said, you can still hear a lot of the flaws through as a complete work of art. You can hear a lot of the flaws that are in that remaster. But I want the proper remaster to kind of take me back to that original vinyl I got in 1984, but at the same time expand the range. You've heard me talk about the Diamonds and Pearls streaming version that we're listening to now, and how I play it more than I played it back in 1991, even though I played Diamonds and Pearls a lot in 1991, or at least its first few months of release. Well, actually more than that. From that fall into spring of into early summer of 1992, that got a lot of radio or CD cassette play for me in those days. But with the range, the separation of voices, the separation of instruments, the subtle nuances in certain instruments or layered vocals or even the lead vocal, that sound with the wider range, it's more immersive. Even without having Adobe Atmos, I don't have one of those yet, but that range, it draws you in. So it's kind of taking me back, but there's a freshness to it that's like I'm just now hearing it today. That's what I want out of the Purple Rain remaster for the 40th anniversary box set, the official box set. have, we'll move on to the next, single edits and extended mixes. I know a lot of people can't stand having that disc. For me, it's functional, because I think there are, you have Prince fans, you have deep cut Prince fans, but you have audiophiles. And if they're the type of audiophiles that are Prince fans, then having those single edits and extended mixes, then that's the completest in them. Or if they're just audiophiles, meaning that they're not necessarily just exclusively Prince fans, but they may love, say, just Purple Rain because it's just an album that they enjoy and it's something amongst other albums that they collect, or they just collect certain albums as an audiophile and they want those box sets or archival sets. And again, that's them being the completest in their collecting. Like I said, some of the single edits, I do listen to them maybe once, the actual single edits. But beyond that, I go for the extended mixes every time. I did that back in vinyl days where it got to a point, I would buy, say, Let's Go Crazy because Erotic City is on the B side and buy the 45, or buy Raspberry Beret because She's Always in My Hair is the B side. But then I think we weren't quite hip to the game yet. It was just like, okay, well, we got this and this got this song on the B side and that's cool. Next thing you know, radio's playing these extended versions of things and it's like, what, there's an extended version? Oh, so we kind of learned after She's Always in My Hair. We kind of learned after that, like, let's just go on and wait for till they drop the 12-inch single. The exception being Kiss, because that was such a powerful song that it was just like, okay, let me just get the 45, and then it had Love or Money on the B side, but then the 12-inch extended versions came out and eventually got that on vinyl. But after that, it was all 12-inch single extended versions straight there, skip the 45 and go from there. But as far as having all those things on the CD, I think it adds to the historical attraction to that, because if you have that long memory of those times, like I said, I'll play play the single edits at least once, or maybe sometimes I'll go back to it just to kind of remember what it was like when that was the only version you could hear before you bought, say, the album, or before you bought the extended 12-inch extended version. Those memories of how things used to sound on radio back then. So I get it, but it's I would say maybe what George Clinton would say, a positive nuisance. There's some people that are annoyed by that. I don't mind it as much. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. But definitely single edits and extended mixes. And from there, I'm going to move on to the vault tracks. So one of the complaints about the 2017 version, you only have one disc of vault tracks. And like I said, half of those tracks had nothing to do with the movie. Like half of that half were done, like I said, after the movie had been shot and in the can, after the album had been cut and was in the can. Even Ice Cream Castles was cut, and I think even Apollonia 6 was cut, and all of that was in the can and ready to drop. So anything after that, like I said, you need to throw that onto an Around the World in a Day box set. And then some of the others, even though they were recorded during the time of Purple Rain, obviously they weren't considered part of Purple Rain. Maybe they were considered for, say, Sheila E.'s album, or maybe the beginning of Jill Jones' album, or something like that. Or he's just, his work ethic. It's just like, I got this song and I need to get it out. It may not be for this movie, but I just got to get this song out. and save it for an album down the line, or wait till it's good enough to be on a particular album. So the date range that you would include that, I kind of figured, and for help, I went to the source. So if you don't have this book, this is Prince and the Purple Rain Era Studio Sessions, 1983 to 1984, written by Dwayne Tudor. He's probably the archivist. This is the first book that he put out. His second volume covers the Parade, Sign of the Times era, and I can't wait for his next one, which deals with the Black Album and Love Sexy, and deals with those sessions in that era. So I don't know, maybe we could try to get him on the show, either this show or Purple Notes Unveiled podcast, and maybe try to get him to talk about the book. We'll see. But turn to this book for help, because as the memes say, you better ask Dwayne about this. So I figured, if you're gonna start with the actual Purple Rain sessions, because the beginning of 1983, that was sort of spent working on single edits for the Times, Gigolos Get Lonely Too, an extended version, or different mixes for Little Red Corvette coming out as a single. So that part of the year, obviously you wouldn't like, oh well, that started in 1983. No, you wouldn't put those on Purple Rain box set. Those belong, at least Little Red Corvette belongs on a 1999 box set. If you do an expanded or complete sessions, then the originals version of Gigolos Get Lonely Too, or any of the Time or Vanity 6 material, would go on a complete studio sessions for 1999. So according to this book, actually the Purple Rain sessions, you would say, arguably would start on March 26th of 1983 with the basic tracks and overdubs recorded for Jungle Love. So you would start your Vault Tracks disc with that. So you would probably take, the originals version. I don't know if there's any different versions that exist, but you would definitely take like the originals version, and they would probably remix it somehow, or if there's an alternate mix of Prince's vocals, like a more finished vocal that's on it, that would be your lead-off track for your Vault Sessions disc 1 of your Purple Rain box set. And like I said, you do have, you have tracks like Electric Intercourse, the studio version. Of course, that definitely belonged on the 2017 expanded edition, that studio version. You definitely included in the 40th anniversary for sure, because that was a contender for the soundtrack. It just got bumped because Prince came up with the beautiful ones, and that was the better track. So you would have that. And I mean, there's things you have, just kind of going through the book here, like January 6, 1984. Work was done on Oliver's House, and then you have cello overdubs for The Glamorous Life. Again, Glamorous Life, that was on originals. You could include that, even though that wasn't a contender for the movie. That ended up with Sheila E. But I would say in that particular case, you can include that. Let's see, Mia Boca. course, you had the song Sex Shooter, that was part of originals. So, I mean, as much as I loved originals, we did do an episode of that on the original Amari Purple Talk show. Myself and PC Munoz. You become a Patreon supporter. You can hear just the audio version of that episode. Where, I love originals. A lot of people love originals. But personally, I think as we're getting into full swing now, now that the estate is kind of settled on a direction at this point, that I think now those things should be relegated to vault tracks on their respective box sets. I mean, this was a cool step in the right direction given the estate at that time to do originals the way that it was, but I don't want to see an Originals 2 and Originals 3. I want to hear those original versions again on respective box sets. Now, what you could do is, for those that can't afford to do the box sets or anything, is to have the standalone CD with the remastered original album and a single disc of highlights with the Prince originals that's on it. So you would have, say, like Purple Rain, but then you would have the second disc be, like I said, Prince's original for Jungle Love, Prince's original for Sex Shooter, Prince's original for Glamorous Life, Baby I'm a Star, I'm confusing that with Baby You're a Trip, but like the originals version of that, of course, I think that would be on, that'd be 1999, I don't have to double check, but that's where you would definitely start with Jungle Love from March 26th of 1983, and then you would end it, and there's enough material you can fill 2 or 3 discs. But it ends, I would say officially, it ends on April 25th of 1984 with the recorded movie version of Possessed. And that's the part that you hear in the club with Prince and Apollonia, and they're having drinks. That's the song that you hear in the background, that version of Possessed. So from March of 83 to April of 84, any relative vault tracks, I would say concentrate heavily on the tracks that were either considered for the film, but at the same time, like I said, there's obviously tracks that weren't contenders for the film, but they are popular tracks that you could include, for the fan base. You can just include those for, fans of that vault track because it's from that era anyway. But things like Roadhouse Garden, Our Destiny, those were done after. Like I said, the movie was in the can, after the soundtrack was sequenced already, and just save that for an Around the World in a Day box set. I've done a video, or not a video, but an episode of Amari Purple Talk saying that given the vault tracks on that, Around the World in a Day would be better than a Purple Rain box set, and it could even be better than a Parade box set. And I want a Parade box set. But I think where Parade would be more eclectic, but I'm going to devote a video to that. That'll be a future episode of Amari Music Talk where we talk about how to make the perfect Parade box set. But as far as vault tracks, March of 83 through April of 84, everything that was recorded that you think would work for those 2 or 3 discs for vault tracks, those are the ones to include. Nothing before March of 83 and nothing after April of '84. You just start working on the Around the World in a Day box set at that point. So that is the vault tracks. But let me know what you think. You know, what vault tracks from those months would be your favorite that you would like to see included on, you know, this 2, 3, or whatever, 1, 2, or 3 of the vault tracks. You know, leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And from there, we're going to go to the live CD portion. Okay, so live CD. Of course, a lot of interesting, popular shows. That's not the Syracuse one. We got the standalone. Leave that as a standalone. And talk about the Blu-ray later, but definitely no more of the Princeton Revolution live Syracuse. Don't include that in the box set. It's perfect as it is as a standalone CD and Blu-ray. That's perfect. The packaging is perfect. The remaster is perfect. The visuals are perfect. It should be a standalone. Just leave it there. So, but getting back to the live, I would say to do something different, because what the thing that I'm looking forward to with Diamonds and Pearls is the inclusion of the live Glam Slam. And I think it's from like '92. And I think that's different because it's a smaller venue. For the previous box sets, we've had these major, for lack of a better word, stadium concerts, which were cool too. But mix it up a bit. You know, if you have a legendary stadium show, that will make a good standalone or an inclusion, or if it's the best choice to include on a box set, then definitely do it that way. But I think in this particular case now, since we've had the release of the Live at Syracuse, I think it would be better to go smaller and do the January 7th, not January 7th, the June 7th, 1984 version of the First Avenue birthday show. To do that and have that be the live CD. That's something that I have that's not official, folks, but I enjoy that. I like the way the songs are done live. I think that for a long time that had been one of the more popular bootlegs. I think still to this day one of the more popular bootlegs. But I would rather see that included, because you still, you know, you had When Doves Cry releases a single by this point. The album is still weeks, maybe a month away from actual release. And like I said, I think it's just a nice little piece that makes it special and unique to the box set. So if you do that as the live CD, then your Blu-ray, and again, to make it special, you could do one or two things. Or you could be bold and do 2 Blu-rays. Or include both of these on one Blu-ray, including the film itself and including the videos. But that's a thought. But the Blu-ray itself would either be the Atlanta show, the Purple Rain tour, from the Purple Rain tour, or the August 3rd, 1983 benefit show that saw the actual debut of Purple Rain, and in addition to that, I Would Die for You and Baby I'm a Star, which were then, you know, mixed and overdubbed for inclusion on the actual Purple Rain album. So it's either one or the other, or include both of those on a single Blu-ray. In addition to, of course, the Dolby Atmos mix, or 5.1, whatever's the most popular, I guess the Dolby Atmos mix of the original Purple Rain album. And like I said, I think those things would make it unique and very special, especially if you include, like I said, you have a live CD. Because I don't know if there was ever footage of that birthday show. But if nothing else, you would have the live CD, and that makes it special. But if you have to have a concert, then you've got the Atlanta, because that, to me, best represents the Purple Rain tour just as much, if not more, in places than the Syracuse show. And then to see the origin of Purple Rain, being unfolding in real time long before it's put on the album, then that's a good historical piece to include as well. So like I said, if it's not one or the other, put both on a single Blu-ray. That would be great. Or if there was a documentary that was ever shot that was originally intended for Apple TV, include that. But I'd rather just see maybe just the entire live show without the documentary. You can do a documentary about that another day. Maybe save that for the 50th anniversary. But yeah, so Blu-ray of the Atlanta show, either bundled with, or if you're not going to do Atlanta show, do the August 3rd, 1983 Benefits show, and then a Dolby Atmos mix of the original album. And then finally, a book with liner notes, essays, historical information, and session notes. I know we're going to get a commemorative book on the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain, and that is written by Andrea Swenson. That is coming out on May 7th of 2024. So I'm wondering if they do a release of a Purple Rain box set, would that come like June 7th? That would be cool if it dropped then. But of course, that book, it's going to be different. I probably can't get to it now, but the best example of that was the Beatles' Let It Be, because that came out right around the same time as or at least the month before the release of the Get Back documentary on Disney Plus. There was also a commemorative book that was released with the transcripts from the Get Back documentary. So you had the book, you had the Let It Be box set drop, and then you had the 3-part documentary drop on Disney Plus. Unless we're going to get the Netflix documentary around this period, if nothing else, at least Purple Rain box set and the commemorative 40th anniversary of Purple Rain book. The book would probably have all kinds of information, historical context, and things of that nature. But the book, again, you can have, like I said, comparing it to that Beatles Let It Be, the book that came with the CDs had different information. It was more essays. It was more historical context, where the commemorative book, again, the Get Back book, was a transcript of basically what you saw in the Get Back documentary and lots of photographs. So I don't think it would be redundant at this point, so you can have the special thick hardcover book, just like with at least the Sign of the Times box set and the upcoming Diamonds and Pearls box set. And like I said, it wouldn't be redundant in addition to the 40th anniversary commemorative book. So, and again, essays. Yeah, bring in some well-known Prince contributors, podcasters. I know with the Diamonds and Pearls we have Kanisa, and then we have
D'Angelo contributing essays to that
box set, the book for that box set. So that's cool. So yeah, the next one, would like to see some more, of our Purple Musical Singularity folks, contribute an essay or two to that as well. Like I said, historical information, session notes. Of course, Dwayne Tudor will probably be tapped for the session notes and some of the historical information. But yeah, but like I said, make it special. Make it very, very special. In this case, yeah, definitely include the revolution. Maybe they can contribute some essays or some interviews or something to that book. But yeah, I think that would make it more of a complete package, and it won't look as cheap and like a cash grab like the original 2017 expanded edition of Purple Rain. So again, better quality, hopefully, with the remaster of the original album. Of course, the obligatory single edits and extended mixes. Of course, I'm looking forward to, I love the extended version of Let's Go Crazy. I love the extended version to Erotic City. So those two alone justify it. The rumored extended version of 17 Days, that's a plus to include on that. But, I love the single edit as well. I know that's all we have at this point, but who knows? Like I said, this would help make this even more special than what we got previously. Like I said, of course, Vault Tracks cover March 83 all the way through April 84. Those are your Vault Tracks. Live CD, the June 7th birthday show. The Blu-ray, you can have Atlanta show, August 3rd, 1983 benefits show. Either one or the other, or include both. Dolby Atmos mix of the original album, and a serious big purple book with liner notes, essays, historical information, session notes, and that's your box set, ladies and gentlemen. Your Purple Rain 40th anniversary box set. The estate can send their cards, letters, and checks, and a free copy. To my, email me. I'll give you my personal info, but and do a proper review of it on the show. But what do you think? All jokes aside, folks, what do you think? What would you like to see included in a Purple Rain box set? What would you like to see that's different from what you got in 2017? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. And that is going to wrap up this episode of Amari Music Talk. And again, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, become a Patreon supporter, get early access to this video, exclusive access to Purple Notes Unveiled podcast, also free stuff, wallpapers, digital downloads, the works. So do all of that, help grow this channel, so I can keep doing more of these videos and hopefully get to a point where I can do these full time. But until then, create your day, create your life. Peace.